Okay, let's see. So today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. And actually, he was born on February 6th. So it's both his lunar and solar birthday today, appearance day. Okay. So I wish there are so many songs in glorification of him that that were composed by his disciples, most notably Sridhar Swami, but we don't have, I guess we'd have to bring them on the screen. So in the meantime, we'll sing a song, perhaps O Hey Vaishnav Thakur, in glorification, MNOPMNO. Okay, that's on page 56. O Hey Vaishnava Thakura Jayada Sagara Edase Koruna Kori. Diyapada Chaya Shodoheya Maya Tomara Charana Dori. Chaya Vega Domi, Chaya Dosha Shoti, Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Sat Sanga Deho He Amare Bosechi Sangera Ashe. Ekarki Amara Nahi Paya Vala Harinama Sankirtane. Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Namadane. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakatiyache. Amito Kangala, Krishna Krishna Boli, Daitava Pache Pache. O Venerable Vaishnava, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me to control my 6 passions, rectify my 6 faults, Bestow upon me the 6 qualities. You can read together. And offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me by giving me just 1 drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give him to me. I am simply running behind you, shouting, Krishna, Krishna. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is our grandfather and our great-grandfather. And we know the grandfather is even more affectionate to the grandchildren. So we can take shelter of him today. And Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabjaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth and who is fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my Master, His Divine Grace, Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayata Das, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is an ocean of mercy and deliverer of the science of relationship with Krishna. Enriched with the brilliant conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, and delivering devotional service unto you, personification of the energy of Lord Gauranga's mercy, I offer my respectful obeisances. Jai. Oh, and okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There is so much information about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati that it's very difficult to ascertain what to speak about, because there are, like his teachings, there's so much of his teachings, and today is the appearance day. And sometimes we hear, how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples, how the Gaudiya Math kind of disintegrated and became divided into especially 2 fractions, and we may kind of dismiss or think less of his disciples, but he actually had many extremely exalted disciples as well, and because of his training. And there's this beautiful book here called Vakri Tavali, Garland of Divine Discourses. And they did not have tape recorders, so there were a few of his disciples who were rather erudite. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead. And they would he himself developed a system of shorthand, but they would just write down like shorthand his lectures. We know his lectures were minimum of 2 hours, and usually about 4 hours, sometimes as long as 7 hours. Now we have here about it's 45 minutes, but after we say the prayers and all, it's often just about a half an hour or 35 minutes. And even then, many devotees have a hard time staying awake for 35 minutes. So imagine sitting for 7 hours in a lecture with no Leela, only Tattva. And one time, a devotee said, Gurudev, he went up to him. He said, "You've been speaking for 7 hours. Do you think you might want to take some rest?" And he said, "Rest? This is rest. Glorifying Krishna, that's rest. That energizes. That doesn't make one tired." And so these there were a few devotees. They would take notes, and then if you're taking notes word for word, inevitably you miss some of the words, so they collaborate together. And so one devotee, very, very, there's in volume 3 of this trilogy, there is a whole chapter on describing his prominent disciples. And so there's like 4 pages on this one disciple named Sundarananda. And so Sundarananda Vijja Vinod. So Vijja means knowledge, Vinod is pleasure, one who derives great pleasure in transcendental knowledge. And he compiled just lectures like of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, and like from so many, it's amazing the the audiences, because you know how he could preach to any kind of audience and any kind of person, and we know that he used to preach all day long. It didn't matter like any kind of audience. He even saved time in the morning, like for a darshan, if people wanted to come and speak with him. And so such a enormous contribution to Vaishnavism. So I just thought this is incredible that he recorded his lectures and gave each like section of the lecture a title at the top, and so very wonderful. And I really, last night I read about this devotee. He was a very erudite devotee. He was from a town where a very, very wealthy family, like one of the wealthiest families in that town, and he had seen a Harinam party in Puri. And then a couple of years later, Harinam, with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta leading it, and then a couple of years later, that Harinam party came to his hometown, and he was very curious because he himself was a Vaishnava and read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and so he went and he heard from one of the sannyasis and he studied. And then he arranged a meeting with the local, also you could say spiritualist. And so this Swami came and spoke, and they loved him so much, and they embraced him, and he was very well received. So then Sundarananda said, "I'd like to have another meeting. Let's have another meeting." He said, "Okay," but when I gave the first meeting, it was very general. But now I'm going to really speak the truth to see how spiritual these people are. So at that class, he totally, there's so much Appa Sampradayas going on even today, against the Siddhanta, and he told them, denounced, Mayavad philosophy and pseudo-religion, and how this is not true devotion. And one by one, everyone in the audience walked out of his lecture, and at the end there was only one devotee left, and that was Sundarananda, who became a brilliant jewel in the preaching mission of of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. And one time he gave a lecture on Raghunath Das Goswami, and at the end, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was present in that lecture, and he said, "Wow," he said, he said, "Your lifelong your like eternal service is just to discourse on Krishna. You have to give 1,000 such lectures as this one. And so he gave him that service that he should always glorify Krishna. So anyway, that's just one devotee. But Bhakti Siddhanta, I said in the beginning that today's his solar appearance day and lunar appearance day, February 6th. And he was born in the year, 1870, what? 1874. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's always like significant, the climate at a time of a preacher. The social climate, the political climate, and the spiritual climate. It's significant how they're going to preach and the opposition they're against. Because preaching means, like he said, don't think preaching is a bed of roses. Rather, it's a bed of thorns of the roses, because no matter which era you're preaching in, there is opposition. There is, there are so many misconceptions. So at this time, it was under British rule, and although the British, were proficient in many ways, like he said, even much better, at managing in a way. And but they thought, the general consensus was these Hindus are like totally backwards and kind of stupid, and they have all these nonsensical rituals, and so their idea was, like, the queen at that time, she said that India is the crown jewel of the British Empire. It was recognized how there was so much elevation in knowledge and and we know, like, science and mathematics, and even now Indians run our entire industry here. In all over the world, the Indians are running, the software empire. It's like they're just generally so much more intelligent, but we have to teach them the British thought. We have to teach them like real, like, Western culture, and how to enjoy like Westerners do, and in other words, how to become degraded. So it was not a good climate, and even how when Gandhi started his protest, there was a massacre. About that, how it was a peaceful protest, and the British soldiers lined up and just started shooting men, women, children, everyone, just shooting them in this assembly. Like, anyone who saw the Gandhi movie, they replayed that. So it was terrible, and how the British were controlling. Okay, so besides that, there were, so let me just a little bit about his childhood, because today is Appearance Day. And so his father, being a high court judge, which was, quite a elevated position, it's like a magistrate to be a judge at Jagannath Puri, and he had many children. Sometimes it says 14, or at least 10. Different numbers are given, and he thought, wow. So one time the Lord appeared to him, because he was so expert at his job of judge, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He would see a case in a very short time, where it's like we know now, it takes like sometimes years to resolve a case. They keep saying, come back later, and more evidence. And a case is not heard generally in just one half an hour like it should be, but for him it was in less than that. He would just hear the case and decide right away the verdict. And so he was very much esteemed. And then the Lord told him, like a dream, that I did not bring you to Puri just to hear cases. I brought you here to establish Krishna consciousness. So Srila Bhaktivinoda said, okay, if you want me to do this, when he woke, then you have to send somebody from your personal staff to assist me. I can't do this alone. So then when this baby was born, named Bimala Prasad, that's the deity at the Jagannath temple. He was named after Bimala. And so right away he knew this child. This child is the one that I prayed for. I prayed for the Lord to send a member of his staff. And we know that the Jagannath cart, the Rath Yatra, grand festival at Puri every year, it stopped right in front of Bhaktivinoda's house. And for 3 days, it wouldn't move. We know this is a common occurrence. The cart will stop and not move. We know in Gaura Leela how the Lord, when Lord Chaitanya was dancing and everyone's pulling the ropes and it won't move, and he pushes with his head from behind, but it wouldn't move. So she took advantage, and being the magistrate's wife, they allowed her to ascend the cart, and she placed little 6-month-old Bimala at the feet of Lord Jagannath. He reached out to touch the feet of Jagannath, and Jagannath's garland, one of his many garlands, fell right on top of that baby. So it was kind of like a confirmation that he's a special baby. And so he, at a very young age, so Bhaktivinoda knew, all right, let me hone this child. Like we used to think that our children were going to grow up and, they were going to be sannyasis, and at least they were going to be temple presidents and leaders of our movement. That was so we honed them. They went to Gurukula, and from birth they were at Mangal Artik every day, and living, like, really indoctrinating them in Krishna consciousness. There was no such thing as televisions. Devotees did not have televisions in their home, and what to speak of now, where you have right in your pocket, the electronics. So they were very, very protected from the influence of Kali, and so that's how he was treating him, and he gave him japa beads at a young age, and once when they were unearthing to build a house, they found a Korma deity. So he gave this Korma deity to his young child to worship. Now, just like we know, we pray to Lord Nrsingadev for protection, and we pray to Ganesh. We don't, but Ganesh is prayed to for wealth, and Saraswati for learning, and different demigods are prayed to, and incarnations of the Lord for especially specific reasons. So Korma is for determination, and so we know Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was so determined, and by only 7 years old, he memorized the whole Bhagavad Gita, and not only memorized, but could give purport, could comment on any verse in the Bhagavad Gita at 7 years old. So we have several children here in our community who are 7 years old, so we can get an idea. And so he was, a voracious reader. like he read so much, and a living encyclopedia, because he would remember everything he read for his whole life. So 50 years later, 50 years later, so, those of us who are 70, say, so what you read when you were 20 years old, he could remember that, and and verbatim. And so he also, like one time, a sannyasi came, like Bhaktivinoda entertained sannyasis regularly. He said there were like, they would be provided lunch and things like that. And one sannyasi told Bhaktivinoda, your son, he didn't pay obeisances. And he said he doesn't pay obeisances to sahajas or mayavadis. so he could tell, and he was like that. And even the guru of Bhaktivinoda, Vipin Goswami, once he came, Bhaktivinoda paid obeisances, and he placed his feet on Bhaktivinoda's head, and then Bhaktivinoda went out of the room, and he was a child still, and he said, I know you're his guru, but do you know who my father is, Bhaktivinoda? Do you really think that you can place your feet on his head? Do you know who he is? So do we know who he is? Because Bhaktivinoda is Komala Manjari, and Bhakti Siddhanta is Nayana Manjari in the spiritual world. Imagine they came from Srimati Radharani's service in Goloka Vrindavan and came to this earth to deliver Krishna consciousness. Like wow. Do you know what Nayana Manjari's service is? And like such a coveted service that every devotee would feel so blessed to have. But Nayana Manjari's service, a Manjari is personal service. Like there's unlimited gopis, and there are sakis, friends, but Manjari, that's very rare to be a Manjari, personal servant. Those who attend to Srimati Radharani, who bathe her and dress her. But Nayana Manjari, every day, she paints Srimati Radharani's feet with lac. That's her service, and like everybody would want to be at the feet and to receive the dust of the feet of Srimati Radharani, and that's what Nayana does. So anyway, so now about this this big meeting that went on, because there's a perpetual debate going on, just like there's perpetual debate between Shaivites and Vaishnavas, but then also the Brahmins, especially the Smarta Brahmins, they consider that there's no way that you can be a Brahmin unless you're born in a Brahmin family. And so they they really did not accept, like those who are not born in Brahmin families, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. His father is a magistrate. That's not exactly a Brahminical service. And so he was not even accepted. And then what to speak when they took disciples, even disciples from Brahmin families, like Sridhar Swami. He was born in a Brahmin family, and yet Srila Bhakti Siddhanta initiated him. They would think that's deplorable, that how can you initiate a Brahmin, when you're not born in a Brahmin family. So once upon a time, the Radharaman temple, they've always been, like way back this time, always been in unison, with the Gaudiya Math and with ISKCON also, very very much supportive and compatible. And so they, just like later, once when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati took a yatra there to Vrindavan, all the temples, 7 major temples, closed their doors except Radharaman Temple. They closed their doors and said, we are not allowing these people, like Bhakti Siddhanta, we're not allowing them in our temple even, because they're bogus, initiating others. And so that's how they were seen, And then there was and then Sridhar Swami went and mediated with them, especially Radharaman, because since he was born in a Brahmin family, they listened to him, and then eventually they saw that these are, and in the scriptures it says, doesn't matter what your birth is, it's by quality, because as will be shown, there were many so-called birth Brahmins, Smarta Brahmins, Jati Brahmins, who were not following Brahminical life. They were eating fish, and that's just minor, the deviations that they were engaged in. But anyway, significant here was this Bali Gai showdown, and that was a debate that went on, 3-day debate between Brahmins and Vaishnavas. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was requested to be the spokesperson for the Vaishnavas. And he, you see, and he couldn't do it because his own guru, Bipan Goswami, was also of the opinion that you have to be born a Brahmin. So he felt like, how can I go and speak, like that? And so he fell ill. He was actually bedridden, and he said, I can't go. So Bhakti Siddhanta, who, by the way, was conferred, remember his name's Bimala Prasad, but because he was so expert in astronomy and astrology that when he was 15 years old only, his professors conferred upon him the title Siddhanta Saraswati. And then later he became, Bhakti Siddhanta when he became initiated. Bhakti Siddhanta and Varshabhanavi Devi. And so so then what he did, he wrote a whole paper and he showed it to Bhaktivinoda, who was, again, very sick with high fever and in bed. And he showed him, look what I've written in refutation. And he read it and he was like, now I feel so confident that Lord Chaitanya's movement is in good hands. And so they went there, and Bhakti Siddhanta represented Vaishnavism, and this was 1911. And all right, so now this is, and it says under the because under the chairmanship of Sri Bipan Bihar Goswami, they declared that their anti-devotional manifesto, and which said, unless born in a Brahmin family, a Vaishnava is disqualified from worshipping Shalagram Shila and conferring initiation. By accepting disciples, Narottam Das Thakur and Shamananda Prabhu had thus contravened Shastra. So they're even decrying them. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented Raghunath Das Goswami with a Govardhan Shila because as a Shudra, he was disqualified from Shalagram Shila worship. And then worship of Govardhan Shila has no Shastriya basis and hence is merely conventional or sentimental. Only those instructions of Hari Bhakti Vilas that do not contradict traditional smritis are to be followed. This is their manifesto, saying that this is bogus, that in our whole line from Mahaprabhu down, that they have been, although they, they have been transgressing the what is proper for Brahmin. So now, as intended, it was causing much disturbance and doubt, particularly amongst the Vaishnavas. So, Srila, it was a public event, a debate, but everyone, as was common, the public's welcome to all of these debates. And just like we're about to have a ISKCON debate on Saturday, next Saturday on the 14th, Valentine's Day, a debate in Mayapur about female Diksha gurus. So similar like this, but the public's not invited, but the GBC is invited. So now, what happened was, during this, 3 days, first of all, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta gave a whole, different speakers, that mostly, Brahmins speaking, the glories of Brahmanism. So he gave wonderful glorification of Brahmins, how the Brahmins, are the representatives of the Lord, how they are endowed with wonderful qualities, how their very presence purifies the atmosphere and everything. And the Brahmins were like, oh, wonderful. I think he's had a change of heart, and that he finally sees the light, finally sees that we are, the superior ones. Then his second lecture was, but nowadays, almost all Brahmins are not following. Actually, they don't really have the qualities of Brahmins, even though born in Brahmin families. So in that sense, he decried them. Then his conclusion was, so if one is very fortunate to be born in a Brahmin family, and if he's fortunate, then in some birth, he can become a Vaishnava. Now, the general audience was in ecstasy, because there was so much confusion going on, and they all stood up and cheered. Of course, the Brahmins were appalled and so disheartened, and so the audience rushed. They wanted to touch the feet of Bhakti Siddhanta, and the police that were there, because kind of anticipating there could be a riot here, they were there, and they quickly took him to a room behind, and so that, there was a stampede. They would have just knocked him over, and so they brought a bucket of water, they dunked his feet in the water, and then they went out and sprinkled the water on the audience's feet. So that's just one example. But his example of such bold preaching that, nobody, even now, we're so timid. I know I'm very timid, in actually speaking strongly, because we don't want people to get offended, like there's so much new age kind of bogus philosophy, but we want to be friends with everyone and speak and sweetly and kind of agree with them and all, but he didn't care who you were or what, but he also did it with love. He was not, he was personal, so there's very much about his interactions with disciples, and how some of them he could be very harsh with, like they say Prabhupada Dal, and prasadam and Prabhupada jal, they loved it. Dal, you know how Indian people love dal. And so if they can get his prasadam dal, they thought, wow, what a treat. And then he would chastise. An hour Prabhupada said he could chastise like anything. He was so expert. He'd call you rascal and fool. And the brahmacharis would get together and say, I got the mercy today. I got the sauce from Gurudev. And they would really relish being chastised because they know that chastisement is for my own purification and my elevation. And not like now, like Bir Krishna Swami sometimes speaks, you know, how I can't say anything to my disciples. You know, like 20 years ago, devotees, ladies would never like wear pants at the temple. And one devotee did, and I heard him, I was there, and he said, you know, you shouldn't wear pants, just wear a skirt. And she said, well then forget it, I won't do my service if I can't wear pants, whatever that service was, perhaps it was shopping or something, then I just won't do it. Like that, and he talks how I have to be careful, I can't instruct my disciples, you know, many of them, you just can't even instruct them. They're not open for instruction. So just a little difference, like how eager we should be to take instruction from senior devotees and the guru, but instead senior devotees are quiet. We don't say anything, right? We see a lot, but we don't say anything. Because yes, cause only if somebody's open, you know, they're like I'm saying, Bhaktisiddhanta, he was also very loving. Like once they were opening a temple, I mean 64 temples in a very short time because he lived a very short life, only 61 years old, that's when he left. So short amount of time. That's a lot of temples, 64 temples, and initiated sannyasis, I think about 20 sannyasis, and the sannyasis would be, you know, the guardian of a math. There would generally be a sannyasi in residence. And anyway, once he went to a temple opening, they're having an opening of a temple, and he said, I forget this devotee's name, I'll just call him, where's Krishnadas? Because he had worked very hard in the whole developing the temple, you know, and helping and raising funds for it. And they said he went away because he was became friendly with one of the neighbors, a lady neighbor. And so the sannyasi really scolded him badly. And, you know, they didn't exactly kick him out, but all the devotees kind of shunned him, and he felt so bad that he left the math. So they said he left because of that. And he said, what? He said, that one devotee, he's worth more to me than this whole temple. Do you know it takes 200 gallons of blood to make a devotee? Because one has to give so much, and you couldn't let him become rectified, because there's always, you know, purification. If someone does something wrong, well, the process is so purifying. Just allow them to re-establish themselves in the process. Not that I don't even want to be here now for the opening, because that devotee was so dear to me. So one devotee said, I think I can find him, because whenever anybody's wristwatch stopped working, he could fix it. They just take it to him, and he could fix it. So this devotee went to all the watch stores, the shops, and sure enough, he was working in a watch shop. And so the devotee said, Gurudev wants you to come back. And he just started crying, and he's like, oh, I'm so much missing the devotees and the moth, and I hate it here, and I so much, and he was so happy, and he just was crying. And then they took him back to the temple. And so, like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he generally, like, you don't see him smiling that much because he's very sober, and you think, wow, I'm kind of scared of him. Like, he always looks very sober, but he was actually very soft-hearted as well. So please take shelter of him today, our grandfather and great-grandfather Guru. Jai. Yeah. All glories to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Aravindanalayataksham Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaramam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniyam Nishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Angani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami.
Oh, he always wants. Okay, thanks. Agana Timarandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Vaishnavanam cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadbhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabjaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhura Yojvala Premaja Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvantarine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujaya Te Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchit Ananda Namine Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaurabir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatsmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute, Jayatam, Sodato Pangor, Mama Manda, Matergati, Matsarvasva, Padambojo, Ratamadana, Mohano, Divyan Vrindaranya, Kalpadrumadya, Srimad Ratnagara, Simhasanasto, Srimad Radha, Srila Govinda, Devo, Prestalibi, Sevyamano Smarami, Sriman Rasa Rasadambi, Vamshivata, Tatastita, Karshan, Venu, Svanayar Gopir, Gopinata, Shriyestunaha, Tapta, Kanchana, Gorangi, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu, Sute Devi, Pranamami, Hari Priye, Jai Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So 9 times we'll offer flowers. So we'll say Shivar Shabanavi Devi, Dayataya Kripab Jaye, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, Dayane Prabhave Namaha, Esha Pushpanjali, Esha Pushpanjali, Esha Pushpanjali. Madhura Yojvala, Premaja, Shri Rupanuga, Bhaktida, Shri Gauda, Karuna Shakti, Vigrahaya, Namostute, Esha Pushpanjali, Esha Pushpanjali, Esha Pushpanjali. Oh yeah, okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali Esha Pushpanjali. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. No, Mangala. Yeah, he's. Is there like a different tune?
Okay. Samsaradava nalalidhaloka tranaya karunyagana ganatva praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru shri charanara vindam Mahaprabho Kirtana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manasora Sena Vaditra Romanchakam Pashutarangavajo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanmandira Marjanadho Yuktasya Bhaktam Chaniyunjatopi Vande